Well, I was going to practice up doing some drawings off camera, but I never got around to it, and I'm never going to get around to it. So I'm just going to start doodling straight on camera with no practice, no prep, no nothing, except I did find my box of markers from a long time ago. Don't ask me where to get these. I looked for them recently, like a couple weeks ago. I don't even know if they make these anymore. These big markers. I couldn't find them. I know they make the Sharpies in various colors, but they don't come in these subtle colors like summer melon or whatever. Tiki Hut tan. Some of those big markers are pretty cool. As far as the color range, I need to find them again somewhere. Now, I haven't looked in the past 7 days, and with my luck, they're back up on Amazon or whatever. But the last time I checked, I couldn't find them. All right, so here we go. Because I need to replace these. They're getting a little old. Okay, that one is a honey brown. All right, so what is the subject matter? What am I going to do for this? Well, let's see. This one seems a little bit too small. I suppose it's okay. Yeah, I don't want the tip to be too small, too finely tipped. Anyway, I got a lot of questions on how to haft things. So I was going to do some hafting videos and all that kind of stuff this week. But, you know, it's a lot of prep. And it's easier just to draw the hafting techniques. All right, so let's just say we have paleo points. Okay, let me see if I can get this to look halfway decent. Anyway, let's say we have some paleo points. There are some clovises with a cuneate tip. Cuneate or cunate, one of those two. That means it's got a pointy tip. Most of them don't. I just drew it like that by accident, but just because I knew that they sometimes are like that, I put the name down. I'm gonna try it again. Let's see. Let me do just a typical profile. All right, so how do you haft these paleo points that have dulled edges? These are dulled. And then you have the flute, sometimes multiples, that kind of thing. Then you have the side flakings. How do you haft these? Well, is there many different ways? I think there's a reason why they made them like this, and I think that there's a reason why it was popular. It spread very fast. Within less than 100 years or 200 years, the clovis was spread everywhere in the North and South America. So it was like a meme, right? It is a meme in the traditional sense, not in the modern sense, but in the traditional sense, memes are just cultural items of intellectual property, let's say, that spread quickly from person to person. So let's see. Different hafting configurations. All right, so I'm just going to do a simple set here. I think there was maybe 3 or 4 different ways you could haft these. I'm going to go over what I think was the most popular, most reasonable ways of course, because I have my own biases. And I draw these little auricles a little bit wider than the sides here, just because I object, or I do not agree with the socket theory of hafting paleo points. That the edges were ground down, especially on the paleo points that have a long contracting stem with ground edges. Right? These you can put these in a socket, right? But not these. But these also have ground edges. They're thinking that they put them in a socket, and since it's going to rub against the sides of the socket, they grind these edges to make it fit better, or to prevent breakage of the socket, because usually it's a bone, right? It's a bone with a cavity. And you got the whatever down here, the joint of the bone. Everyone get their mind out of the gutter here. Anyway, this is a bone, and this goes into the socket here, supposedly. But if you take most bones, this cavity is not wide enough for the paleo points, because a lot of them are 1 inch. Okay? Well, what about the rib bones? You might say. Rib bones. Got wide marrow pockets in them. Yeah, okay, this is the front view, let's just say. What did it look like from the side? What does a rib bone look like from the side? Curved. How do you socket a long tapering stem into a curved bone? Well, they were really big, man. They're really big, and the curve is really small, comparatively speaking. So, yeah, you can socket it in there. Yeah, you haven't tried, have you? No. And maybe you can socket it into this curved bone. All right. It's got a slight curve in it. I know I'm off on a tangent. Okay, you got it in there. Slight curve, just barely, right? You got it in there. You got your paleo point in there, and you're all proud of yourself. You put glue or whatever. Socket it in there. Now what do you do with that in? Is this going to be a knife only? No, they were killing mammoths with these, man. Mammoth bone killing mammoths. That kind of thing. Well, you got this space in here. Yeah, you can stick a stick in there. It's going to be at a little angle. That doesn't look like a good spear to me. Well, no, they cut it. They cut it, and they took a piece out, this little piece, and then they put it into a V socket in the shaft. Yeah, that's what it did. That's what they did. There's a V socket, so you just put it in there, and then you just wrap it up. Okay, and then you get straight. Everything is straight. See, fine. Yeah, makes sense. But you're making this stuff as you go, making this stuff up as you go along. Why are you making this stuff up as you go along? Well, that's just because of the way you were explaining it. You gotta it's gotta be socketed. So I'm just coming up with explanations because it has to be that way. Okay. Let's get away from all this socketing stuff. It doesn't do us any good. Okay? I'm going to assume all of these things were either foreshafted or directly shafted into either a V notch or a U notch. Flat bottom or pointed bottom notch for these things. Okay? And either this is the main shaft with no foreshaft, or you have a foreshaft that's inserted into a main shaft. Okay, and these things were drilled out. The main shafts were drilled out. So the main shaft would be down here. This thing is drilled out with a what? A stone drill, perhaps shaped like one of these. Funny how that works. And you know, it gets worn down. You know, you use it a lot as a knife or whatever, and it gets resharpened and worn down. But lo and behold, this part on a lot of these paleo drills looks like it would match the lower part of a foreshaft that can be used to drill into a main shaft. It's not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence. And if you look at the more recent atlatl dart points that are hafted, I got my notebook around here somewhere, but not readily available in 5 seconds. I can show you real artifacts that have this taper on the foreshaft, V-notched or U-notched, and the corresponding drills that go along with these in the same context. They might not be found next to each other, but in the same context, same time period, blah, blah, blah. All right. So with the paleo points, I think they were done this way. Now, what am I going to do with the colors? Why am I not coloring this stuff in? Okay, let's see. This is wood. Can it be bone? Oh, yes. This is called Tiki Hut Tan Wood Color. Right? It's wood color. Accurate. Okay? Bone color. Where's the bone color? Where does it say? Let's see. How about this one? Yeah. That's what bone looks like. Yeah. Okay. There's some color. See, what does this one look like? It's color in our meme. Ooh, that's way too dark. Way too dark. These are our flake scars. Yeah. Right? No? Yeah, it doesn't look good. I'm just going to color all in. This is called Georgetown Cloud 9 Gray. I erased the Georgetown part in front. Okay? All right. Really? No. All right. But that's a Georgetown Clovis. Different ways. I messed it up here because I was going to put little foreshafts down here. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you the wrapping part. Now, the foreshaft obviously extends into the stone, right? This notch, this part and that part. I wish these were labeled something or called something. I just call them little wood extensions or the sides of the notch. Okay, sometimes they're pointed. They can be round, just like the flute. They can extend past the flute. Let's say the flute is right like that. They can match the flute, right, exactly, or just pointed within the flute. They can go past the flute, or we'll come back to this. You might not be able to see any of the foreshaft extensions there. Okay. Now, of course, it's wrapped horizontal. Now, do they wrap it this way and down this way and then this way? Yeah, that could be why they have little ears sticking out so they can wrap downward. Let's see. Right, you can wrap downward, and yeah, this little area right there. You got what they call a flying wrapping, right? Because it's just out in the air. These little flying wraps. Is this a term in archaeology? No. But I've seen it before. Like I've seen, this is an arrowhead, right? It's just an arrowhead that's like this. That is a little bit too big for the arrow shaft, is in my opinion. Okay, let's just say it's like that. Well, let me just do the actual point that I saw. It has little notches, very wide stem, little notches. This is messed up. Okay. And then you have, let's just say the maximum diameter of your arrow foreshaft here would be 1 centimeter. Okay. Usually arrows are less than this, so that would be, 7 millimeter. I'm doing these millimeter things because it's easier. I forget what they would be in inches. Anyway, we're talking about flying wrappings. Wrappings that if you actually did the wrapping, part of it sticks out. It's not attached to anything. You can wrap across here too, obviously, and then wrap down this way. But I've seen arrows wrapped this way where this wrapping is just out in the air. So that's what I'm calling a flying wrapping. Okay, you can do the paleo points that way. You can do them in a way that is very fat, like the foreshaft is right up next to the width of the foreshaft is almost as wide as the whole point, and there's just very little distance between, let's see, where am I? Very little distance between the edge of the foreshaft and the edge of the point. You can have a lot of distance between, or you can have a little bit of distance, or almost nothing. If you have almost nothing, you can wrap it just all the way straight down with no cross wrappings. Okay? Another way is, here we go. You can actually abruptly taper the foreshaft. Now, I don't know exactly why you would want to do that, but you can do that. You can abruptly taper it and then wrap it. Same deal, all the way down. And you won't have much of the flying wrappings if you abruptly taper it. Another way you could do it is just a normal foreshaft, short, and just chaotically crisscross the whole thing. Just mess it all up. Kind of be all messy. All right. You can either contour, shape the foreshaft in a weird way. I think weird because I can't think of any other way to say it, but an artistic way. Let's just say an artistic way. You can create the foreshaft in an artistic way, or you can just do it plain Jane with a lot of chaos, or you can make sure that your width of your foreshaft is the same width as the width of the point with very little difference, and then just wrap it all the way down. You hardly have any transitional jump or any transitional change. Or you can have a skinny foreshaft. I've seen a lot of artifacts that are hafted to skinny foreshafts for some reason. Okay. So there's the different configurations. Just 4 that I can come up with. I'm sure there's many more. All right. So let me see. What can I do for the colors on this one? Is there a brown flint? Oh yeah, there's a brown flint. Where's my light gray? I don't have a light gray, but I do have a pencil. Oh yes. I do have a pencil can make light gray. Oh yeah. Let's see. Where is our wood color? This is wood. Now, were all of these hafted to wood? Some people would say, no, of course not. Of course not. They were not all hafted to wood. Sometimes you would use bone or antler or maybe a big tusk. Yeah, okay. Anyway, I think 99% of the time they were hafted to wood, okay? Let's put that down so you can quote me so I can be wrong. 99% wood. Hafted. Okay? That's my theory. No, man, it's 82.6% wood. Hafted. Okay, all right. We don't know how they hafted these, really. The socket idea might be valid. I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying I don't think it's a good idea. First of all, it's very heavy. It might not be a bad thing, but if you're using atlatl darts, they're already really heavy. Okay. I mean, it doesn't make much sense. Let me think about this. It is really heavy. If it's really heavy, this is what happens. Let's say you got your atlatl dart. Let's see if we can draw a whole full scale here. Got your atlatl dart shaft, right? Then you got your fletchings. Got your little knock there, fletchings. And then you add a very heavy foreshaft and then your point. Now, if this is very heavy and you have a what they call a fulcrum here, which means that's where the whole thing balances. If you have a heavy foreshaft, it's going to pull this whole thing, and if you put in a big point, it's going to pull it more, and it's going to mess up your location of your fulcrum. Right? It's going to move it. Actually, it's going to move it this way. So it's going to shift where the fulcrum is on your atlatl dart. Now, if you are used to firing it with the fulcrum kind of in the middle, it does make a difference. When I was firing my atlatl darts, it does make a difference both in terms of holding the atlatl, right? Your hand is here. That's a hand. I got a long ways to go, okay, before I can do this well. Let's say you got a finger here holding it. Okay, a couple fingers, whatever. I'll get better at throwing at making the hand. Okay, let's just say that you've got your finger holding it there. If you got a lot of weight here and you add more weight, you're gonna have to add a lateral weight here. If this is really heavy, you're gonna make this heavy, so it'll feel right. So adding bone to the foreshaft means that you're either going to have to make this smaller, okay, or make this heavier. Now, with equipment and kit and all that, if you ask me, I don't want to make anything heavier than what it has to be, if you just ask me. So making this out of bone or antler doesn't make much sense to me, because not only does it mess with the fulcrum and mess with your atlatl configuration, you'll have to make your point smaller, which means less edge. That's where we're getting. That's what we're getting to. That's the final moral of the story. Do you want less of an edge on your point or more of an edge on your point? You want a lot of edge or you want a little bit of edge? Now, what's weird is a lot of these points are ground up on the edge. So obviously they didn't have much edge. Or what they were doing is they found out what was good for the amount of edge they wanted, and all they did was extend the stem down to add more weight to the point. Okay? And then used a lightweight foreshaft so that all the weight was in the point itself. All right? We got to think about that. So it not only is the hafting wrappings and artistic carving of the foreshafts kind of important, but this whole physics thing about the fulcrum and the atlatl configuration, the edge size, also comes into play. Okay? Now, I think that's good enough for this discussion. Not only because I'm running out of time, but I can't think of anything else to say. I don't really have that much of a choice of colors here. But anyway, yeah, I don't think they used bone because that would cut down on the amount of point that they would use. Now, that brings me to another exception. The exception is sometimes there are small points. Yeah, man, what about the small miniature paleos? Miniature paleos. I don't know. What about the little tiny ones? Big question mark. What were they used for? Were they missiles? Were they little knives, little pocket knives you carry around with you? Were they something you wear around your neck? Was it an ornamentation? You know, the miniature ones is just something you wear around your neck for good luck, just like a lot of Native Americans do these days. You know, a lot of different cultures have good luck charms, and arrowhead is a good luck charm, right? Is that why you wear? That's why you made little miniature paleos, so to be a good luck charm? Or are they doing this heavy foreshaft thing with a small point deal on this particular configuration here? Maybe it's the type of prey. I don't know. All these are questions that we don't know. We don't know what's going on. So all I can say is we just need people to come up with stuff in their imagination to see if we can test it out. If it can be tested, great. If it can't be tested, it's kind of useless. All right, now we can test the socket theory, which works fine for knives. It does work fine for knives, and it can work for little darts, right? It can work if you shape the bone just right and make the socket just right, and the bone is the correct type and everything is hunky-dory, glue is good. Yeah, it's feasible. But let's try and make these. That's the only thing I can say, you know, try it out. Basically anything you stick on the end of a stick that's sharp will work. So it's hard to know. And you can do penetration tests, but if the penetration tests vary by an inch or two, it's not going to be a big deal, especially when you're dealing with a large animal, large dart, and it already penetrates a lot. 1 or 2 inches difference isn't going to make much of a difference. I mean, it can make all the difference, but in the overall scheme of things, if you're already using a big dart with a big point, a little bit of difference in penetration is not going to make that big a difference, especially if you're going for lungs or something close to the surface of the animal. Now, you're going for deep penetration into a heart or other vital organ. Maybe you're trying to hit the spine, because hitting the spine on the animal will knock it right down. It won't be able to move. You could be trying for that sort of thing. These could be bone piercing or spine piercing tips that are actually designed to hit and penetrate vertebrae. We don't know. Okay, and it does affect the hafting. Stronger, these are very strong hafting configurations, extremely strong, much stronger than what is possible with a very short hafting area. Let's see. Low notches produce a very short hafting area, and that equals weak. Now with arrows, you might do it on purpose. You might want that to become loose and then the arrowhead fall off and stay in the wound. You may want it, but physics says that a short hafting area is weak. Large, long, and dulled hafting areas where you can really tighten up that hafting is a very strong haft. Okay? All right, hopefully that was okay. I'll find some good colors next time. Better colors. And try to jazz up. I got to practice my anatomy. All right, that's it. Okay.